All species in the known universe desire one thing: security. Not just in the physical sense, though that is certainly welcome, but in all senses. Security from hunger, from loss, from suffering. All species desire security to know that they will always have a meal ready for them, somewhere safe to sleep. The concept of utopia to all species is that all one would have to worry about was eating, sleeping, and concerning themselves with the continuation of the species. Thus, the Galactic Utopic Collective was established. For the use of drones, AI, pre-established trade routes, and machine learning, they slowly began to transition the universe towards this utopian vision. They automated the massive cargo haulers that flew between the stars, and used the profits to fund research into fully automated farming. Once that was achieved, they started to automate other things: research, healthcare. Every process was made automatic, and when they automated something, they reduced its cost to everyone else to so low that they barely made a profit. When they automated starship fuel production, they didn't charge the automated shipping companies for fuel, and the automated farms didn't charge for food. Slowly, over generations, everything cost nothing. Machines learned how to make art, games, and stories. Why would you try to create something when an AI can do it better, and give it to you for free? They automated exploration and terraforming. Why take the risk when a machine can do it? It took them centuries, but slowly, they achieved what they called Galactic Utopia. No one had to do anything other than eat, sleep, and continue the species they were a part of. Children could choose to be educated, but there was little point beyond learning to read, so you could read the stories. Why bother learning complex mathematics when the machines can do it for you? What point is science when the AI researchers outperform you at every turn? These were the questions put to those who wanted to do more, go further, and eventually they too settled into this utopian life of calm security. We had achieved a perfect galaxy. Even the warlike races were pacified to a degree. Why fight other species when you can fight robots that are your perfect foes? You always just be on that knife edge between loss and victory, but you will never lose badly enough that it'll matter, and you will always win more than you lose. Who cares about fighting when you can simply go sleep, or eat, or fornicate? Over the years, even the most violent of species settled down. There was the odd, simulated war against the utopic robots, but even then there wasn't any real risk or concern in it. No casualties. The robots would lose and retreat, but it didn't really matter. It was just an outlet. This was until humanity. Humans hated banality. They hated repetitive things. If you tell a human that for the rest of its life it has to get up at the same time, do the same thing every day, go to sleep at the same time, it will rage against it. It might not be right away. It might not even be within a year or two if it's a thing the human enjoys, but eventually they will rebel. When humanity achieved FTL, the GUC approached them and offered them the utopia of security. And humanity said yes, at least at first. They were given 24 worlds to settle. The factions that would normally war with one another were split across the worlds to give them all the space they needed. Then humanity got bored. It started in small numbers, 1s and 2s. They would seek aboard cargo ships or exploration shuttles and travel elsewhere, to other planets, to the edges of space. These renegades were either resettled on their home planet or on their destination planets, and they seemed to placate them for a time. But then the numbers started to increase. Humanity didn't stop wanting to learn, even with the machines capable of doing everything better than them. Humanity still wanted to be doing. They would manufacture risk for themselves. They would climb things too high to be safe, or go swimming in places that could contain poisonous creatures. They wanted to go see other races. They wanted to explore the edges of space. They didn't care if that would put them at risk, or mean that they might not have somewhere perfect to sleep. They would throw themselves out into the wilderness with nothing but a thin cloth bag and some fire-starting equipment just for fun. Humanity hated utopia. They loved the free food, secure place to return to, and a surety of abundance, but they could not stand the security it required, nor the repetitive nature that security held. Some of them were content to stay put and enjoy the security that it provided, but others, lots of others, couldn't. The system broke. Humanity couldn't stay still long enough to settle into utopia. They got the system to give them ships, and ripped out the machines, replacing them with a human crew. They started flying their own bulk haulers. They made ships built for nothing but speed and raced them around the systems they inhabited and between. They didn't care that they would get the same food and entertainment as someone that didn't do any of these things. All they wanted was to do something new, something different or something dangerous. They started to explore unterraformed planets. Why? Because they felt they were beautiful or strange. Every other species in the galaxy had a zero risk-based death rate. The only deaths that occurred were because of incurable medical conditions or old age. Humanity, on the other hand, had a death rate that, while much reduced due to medical advances, was still far, far higher than any other species. Over 10% of human deaths were due to adventure-related. Humans going out beyond the security of their designated zones and doing stupid things. Freezing because they didn't manage to get back before the snowstorm hit on the ice plane, or falling from some stupid cliff they had climbed. The GUC, long since automatized, as had the rest of the universe, simply failed. It couldn't understand nor calculate these humans. They didn't care if the machines offered them endless games, or books, or TV shows. They didn't care if there were robots for them to practice against. They wanted to practice against other humans, or other species. They didn't want caretaker drones looking after them when they went out for a walk in the forests. They threw off the GUC's oversight and caretaking. They took to exploring themselves. They shipped their own food. They let the GUC step in when things went really wrong. A security net, they called it, but other than that, they did what they wanted, how they wanted. The worst part of it? It was infectious. Once a human landed on your planet, they started talking about things like exploration, the unknown, and adventure. That last one, adventure, was the worst of them all. Most people would think it just meant something unusual and exciting somewhere that isn't here, but that wasn't what the humans used it to mean. To us who grew up under the GUC's banner, adventure was just a class of story. A hero would go forth on a journey to face a challenge or evil, overcome it, and return home in glory. But no. For humans, an adventure was something that seemed to stir the soul, to set a light behind their eyes that seemed to drive them to break the GUC's perfect continuum, to abandon the security that the endless food and safe places to rest was. It was to go out into the beyond, to challenge themselves to face some kind of intrinsic fear of unwillingness. Once they'd done an adventure, they could never do it again. At least so they said. You can only do a thing for the first time once, they would say. For adventures, it seemed, once you'd done it once, you couldn't do the same adventure again. Oh, sure, you could do a similar adventure and others could do your adventure, but only if they'd not done it before. You could explore a different planet, or a different bit of the same planet, but you couldn't explore the same bit. Once you'd been on even a small adventure with these humans, that was it. You were hooked. Something deep inside you changed, or broke, or reawoke, I don't know. The first adventure I had with a human was simple, small. I left my nesting zone. I left my two mates behind, as well as my unhatched egg. An almost unthinkable thing at the time. I'd never left my nesting zone, let alone the same room as an unhatched egg for as long as I'd lived. All we did was walk around the block. It was less than 10 minutes by the humans' reckoning, but it was all new for me. My heart was racing. I was scared, excited, worried, exhilarated, and I couldn't stop smiling. Or a pass rate on my kind. When I got home, my mates looked at me like I was insane. I'd left the nesting zone. I'd abandoned an egg. But when I checked the egg, nothing was wrong. There'd been no great catastrophe. Nothing had happened. I'd just gone for a walk. When I look back on it now, it seems so small, so insignificant. The human and I went for a walk about the block. But that feeling, that mixture of worry and fear overwhelmed by anticipation, excitement, and almost childlike glee, was addictive. I found myself going for walks more and more often, around the block, but when that didn't cause my body to shake and race like it had the first time, I took to walking further, exploring different places. When I realized that I still craved that feeling, but I'd run out of places to walk in the near area, I started to walk further away. But that still didn't move me. I understood the human desire, that endless need for more. A simple walk in the grid of nesting zones with delivery drones zipping about overhead, and the sun above me wasn't enough. It was pleasant, yes, but it didn't light the fire in my breast that the first walk had. So I walked at night, and once again I was afraid. I feared that I'd not find my way back, or my mates would think me spirited away in the dark. But once again, there was a light of excitement and joy that overwhelmed the worry. I returned home, to the warm comfort of my bed. I lay my head down, and slept the best sleep I had in a long while. That was over 5 years ago, and here I stand on the observation deck of a human exploration ship, looking out into the darkness of the black void, with only glittering stars winking back at me. I can see my home star growing ever larger. I am once again returning home after an adventure. My mates have long accepted that I am infected by the human need for these wanders into the unknown. They no longer worry about me or fuss over the possibilities of things going wrong. I have the scars to prove it. But I do not care. For each one of those scars, I have seen 24 new sights, smelled a dozen new scents, tasted more flavors than I can dream. I am no longer entranced by the banality of the serenity of our nesting zone. Rather, it is a secure, warm place I can return to after an adventure. I have found that, much like the endless humdrum of utopia to be smothering my desire for more, if I was to adventure endlessly, I would burn out and find myself unable to enjoy the sense of wonderment and joy that comes from it. I think I finally understand why humans can't stand the idea of living quietly in a perfect world. Humans are not driven by the desire for security, or even a desire to live as I once did. They desire to be alive. They want to experience all that the galaxy has to offer, and sate the wanderlust that sits deep within their hearts.